Hello, gentle listener. Lay your thoughts down softly. Let the weight of the day slip from your shoulders like a coat hung beside a warm hearth. You're safe here. Here today, we will float together through a story of quiet heroes, invisible helpers, and the soft armor worn by your very cells. This is the story of vaccines, but it is not a loud story. It is a whisper, a thread of comfort, a hush of protection that has wrapped itself around humankind for over 2 centuries. We will begin slowly, step by step, like walking barefoot through a dewy field at dawn. There is no hurry. Science, after all, often works in gentle silence. Once not so long ago in the grand clock of history, the world was a different place. There were no syringes, no vaccines, no shields inside our skin. Illness came quietly, like fog through a crack in the window. Sometimes it came quickly, sometimes slowly, but when it arrived, it brought fear. Measles, smallpox, tuberculosis. These are not just names in a textbook. They were visitors, uninvited, and often unkind. In ancient towns, children played in dusty courtyards, their laughter echoing against mud walls. But behind some doors, fever stirred, and in village huts lit by candlelight, parents sat beside beds whispering quiet prayers into the night. Before modern medicine, the human body was on its own. It fought. Sometimes it won. Sometimes it didn't. Healers tried herbs, elixirs, warm cloths soaked in rainwater, and sometimes stories, magic charms, hope disguised as medicine. But something deeper was at work. Inside each person, even then, a quiet system was learning, observing, building memories of past infections, trying to protect itself in the only way it knew how, by remembering the hurt. This natural memory, this secret guardian, would one day be understood and guided and taught. That is where the story of vaccines begins. Not with war, but with wisdom. Not with noise, but with a soft lesson whispered to ourselves. Let's now lie beneath the skin, down past the surface, past the muscle, into the vast, shimmering sea of the bloodstream. Here, in this flowing quiet, lives the immune system. It doesn't sleep. It doesn't shout. It listens, waits, and when needed, it acts with grace, with speed, and with remarkable memory. Immunity is not one thing. It is a symphony, a chorus of cells, each with their part to play. Some are watchers, some are messengers, some are warriors, and some are historians, scribes that remember every tiny intruder the body has ever met. When a virus or bacterium enters, the immune system responds like a candle lighting in the dark. Not in panic, but in purpose. White blood cells gather like fireflies. They examine the stranger. They taste it in a way, learn its shape, its tricks, its weaknesses, and then they remember. This memory is what we call immunity. And this quiet memory is what a vaccine teaches. Without causing illness, a vaccine offers the body a clue, a shadow, a whisper of the real danger. It's like showing a painting of a wolf to a sleeping village, so that, should the wolf ever truly come, the village is not afraid. It knows what to do. Vaccines are not invaders. They are teachers, kind tutors to the immune system, reminding it that safety is sometimes built before danger arrives. Your body, even as you rest now, carries these gentle lessons. In your arms, in your blood, in your marrow, You have likely received vaccines as a child. Tiny drops, little pricks, a few tears perhaps, then protection growing quietly within you, year after year. And the beauty is you don't have to think about it. Your body simply knows. It remembers, so you can forget and sleep. Before vaccines were understood, there was a disease with a name spoken in fear. Smallpox. It crept into homes and villages like a cold wind through a broken window. It left behind scars, on faces, on hearts, and on history. And for centuries, there was no escape. Smallpox was ancient. It touched kings and farmers alike. It crossed oceans. It lived in the folds of blankets, the breath of travelers, and the hands of strangers. The symptoms came in waves. First, a fever, then aches, then small red bumps like seeds scattered across the skin. These bumps grew, filled with fluid, broke, crusted over, and often left deep pits in the skin, memories carved into the face. For many, it was deadly. For survivors, it left reminders. Eyes blinded, skin marked, families changed forever. In this darkness, something remarkable began to flicker. Hope, not loud, not sudden, but steady, like a candle slowly resisting the night. In some parts of the world, people noticed a strange truth. Those who had once caught a milder illness, cowpox, seemed safe from smallpox. They didn't know why. They only saw what was. And from this observation came the birth of a quiet revolution. In a peaceful corner of England, in the village of Berkeley, a young doctor walked between farms and meadows. His name was Edward Jenner. He listened carefully to the people, to the earth, to the animals. He had heard stories, softly passed from one dairymaid to another, that those who had once caught cowpox never seemed to fall ill with smallpox. Cowpox was different. It was mild. Its sores were fewer, its fever gentler. And yet, somehow, it seemed to guard those who had known it. Edward Jenner watched. He wondered, and one day, he tried something quietly extraordinary. In 1796, he took a small amount of fluid from the sore of a milkmaid with cowpox. Just a drop, like dew on a leaf. He introduced it into the arm of a young boy, James Phipps. James fell ill for a short time, then nothing. He recovered. Later, when exposed to smallpox, James remained healthy. Untouched, the experiment had worked. Without giving James the full storm of smallpox, Jenner had taught his body the shape of the storm cloud, so it could defend itself if ever it truly rained. And so, the first vaccine was born, named after vacca, the Latin word for cow. From a cow's gentle secret came a world-changing shield, a whisper of immunity passed down through generations. Jenner's discovery was not met with cheers at once. Many did not understand. Some were afraid. But like seeds in still soil, his idea took root. And over time it blossomed. Let's now rest inside a single moment. A quiet one. A moment when a vaccine meets the body. Imagine a raindrop falling onto the skin. Not harshly, but gently. Just enough to be noticed. A vaccine is that kind of drop. It carries a message, a folded note. It whispers, "This is what danger looks like. Learn it now, so you are ready later." But here's the secret. A vaccine does not bring the full danger. It brings only the shadow, a ghost of the real thing. There are different kinds of vaccines. Some use a weakened version of the virus. It cannot cause harm, but the body still recognizes its form. This is called a live attenuated vaccine, like a lion turned into a kitten, familiar but harmless. Some use only pieces of the invader, just the parts the immune system needs to remember. This is called a subunit vaccine, like showing a child a feather, so they know a bird. Others use an inactivated virus, completely dead, like a painting of the original. The body studies it quietly, like a picture in a museum. And when the real virus comes, the body knows what to do. There are even newer vaccines that carry only instructions. A set of blueprints written in RNA, the soft language of life. These vaccines ask the body to build just one small part of the virus itself. Not forever, just long enough to learn, to prepare. This was the type of vaccine used during the COVID-19 pandemic. Silent messages carried in microscopic bubbles, floating like tiny ships into our cells. In every form, a vaccine is a message of peace. Not an invasion, but a rehearsal. Your body learns the notes, remembers the tune. So when the real danger appears, it can sing the melody of defense, strong and sure. And all of this happens quietly, while you go about your day, while you rest, while you sleep. Let us now linger a little longer and gently open the pages of immunology, not to rush or overwhelm, but to quietly understand what a vaccine truly is from the inside out. A vaccine is more than a medical product. It is a controlled encounter between the body and an idea, a carefully prepared simulation, a rehearsal of danger without the danger. The immune system is the body's natural defense system. It is composed of two branches, the innate immune system and the adaptive immune system. The innate system is first to respond. It is ancient, broad, and fast. It doesn't know exactly what is attacking, but it reacts swiftly like a watchful dog barking at the slightest noise. It sends macrophages, cells that patrol the body like gentle sweepers. They engulf particles and sound the alarm. They release cytokines, tiny chemical messengers that wake up other cells. Then comes the adaptive immune system. It learns, remembers, specializes. This is where vaccines do their quiet work. The adaptive immune system is like a hidden library tucked deep within you. Each encounter with a virus, a bacterium, or a vaccine writes a page into this internal book. These pages are called immune memories. When a vaccine enters the body, its components are picked up by special immune cells called antigen-presenting cells, or APCs. These are like quiet librarians. They take the antigen, the key part of a pathogen, and display it like a book cover. They bring this information to helper T cells who read it closely. Then, the immune system divides its forces. Some cells become B cells, the antibody makers. They produce proteins that can float through the blood, bind to invaders, and mark them for destruction. Other cells become cytotoxic T cells or killer T cells. These are more like guards. If a cell becomes infected, they destroy it before the infection spreads. But most importantly, some of these cells become memory cells. They live quietly in the body for years, sometimes decades. And when the real pathogen appears, they wake up quickly, efficiently. No panique, no delay. This is how vaccines protect, not by eliminating the pathogen directly, but by ensuring the body is not caught unaware. It is, in essence, the difference between surprise and preparedness. Let's imagine now that a person receives a vaccine, perhaps in their arm, A small prick, followed by a moment of soreness. Then the body begins to listen. The cells in the muscle tissue near the injection site notice something unfamiliar. The innate immune system responds first. Dendritic cells and macrophages rush in. They collect fragments of the vaccine, like scouts gathering evidence. The vaccine might contain an inactivated virus, chemically killed, unable to replicate. A live attenuated virus, weakened so it cannot cause illness in healthy people. A protein subunit, only part of the virus, such as the spike protein in COVID-19. A viral vector, a harmless virus carrying genetic instructions. Or mRNA, a simple message for your cells to build just one harmless viral protein. Each type works differently, but all aim to present antigens, the recognizable parts of the invader, to the immune system. Once these antigens are recognized, the dendritic cells travel silently through the lymphatic system to the lymph nodes. Here, in this quiet sanctuary, T cells and B cells gather like scholars in a library. They study the antigen, then divide, multiply, specialize. The B cells begin producing antibodies, each shaped precisely to match the invader. These antibodies float through the bloodstream like soft keys, looking for their matching locks. The T cells begin their training too. Killer T cells learn to recognize infected cells by reading fragments of the antigen displayed on their surfaces. They practice, prepare. After a few days, the body is ready. Even though no true threat was present, the immune system is now rehearsed, primed. And as the vaccine's components fade from the body, its lesson remains, stored in the memory cells, sleeping, waiting, protecting. This process doesn't just help one person. It helps all. The immune system speaks a language of shapes, of keys and locks, of surfaces and structures. Every virus or bacterium has surface features called epitopes that can be recognized by antibodies. An epitope might be a spike, a loop, or a tiny chemical groove. B cells create antibodies to match these shapes. Each B cell is like a craftsman building a tool. And when the right tool is built, it is copied and spread across the body. Antibodies work in many ways. Some neutralize the pathogen directly, like putting a cap on a pen. Others flag the invader so other cells can destroy it. This entire system works because of a principle called clonal selection. Your body contains billions of different B and T cells, each with random receptors. Only the few that match the antigen are selected. They are cloned, amplified, focused. This, too, is how vaccines improve over time. With booster doses, memory is refined. The antibodies become more specific, the T cells more precise, the protection more complete. Some vaccines need only one dose. Others need a series. Some must be renewed because the invader changes shape as influenza does. And some viruses like HIV mutate so rapidly that vaccine design is still in progress. An unsolved mystery waiting quietly in the corners of labs around the world. Yet still, progress continues. With each new vaccine, the immune system is not only defended, it is educated. And there's something profoundly beautiful in that science can teach the body to remember, so that you may forget. Now, let us turn to the tiniest visitors in the world, smaller than dust, quieter than footsteps, yet capable of great noise in the body. They are viruses, and they do not live in the way we do. A virus is not a cell. It does not eat. It does not breathe. It does not grow on its own. It exists in a twilight between life and non-life, like a locked box waiting for a key. Each virus is made of simple parts. A shell called a capsid, often shaped like a crystal or a seed. Inside it, a ribbon of genetic instructions, either DNA or RNA. Some viruses also wear an outer coat, a lipid envelope, stolen from the cells they once infected. They drift through the world like seeds on the wind, in droplets of breath, on hands, on doorknobs, invisible until they find a host. Once inside the body, a virus looks for a cell. It finds one, latches on, and slips its genetic code inside. Then, it uses the cell's own machinery to make copies of itself. Many, many copies. The cell becomes a quiet factory until it bursts and the new viruses spill out, each one ready to begin again. But the immune system sees this, learns it, and fights back. That is where vaccines step in. They show the body what a virus looks like before it can harm. They allow the immune system to meet the shadow before the storm. And so, the virus is not evil. It is not even truly alive. But it is clever and persistent, and it must be remembered. That is why vaccines matter. They light a candle before the shadow arrives. The relationship between a virus and the immune system is like a dance. Sometimes fast, sometimes slow, but always intricate. The virus enters. The immune system notices. At first, the body may feel tired or warm. This is inflammation, not a symptom of defeat, but a sign of response. Blood vessels widen. White blood cells gather. Cytokines call others to the scene, like bells ringing across a village. This is the first wave. If the virus is strong, if it hides well, the battle may be longer. Some viruses mutate, change their outer shell, like a thief changing its disguise. This is why we see variants. You may remember when new variants of COVID-19 were spoken of. Alpha, Delta, Omicron, each one slightly different, each one testing the memory of the immune system. But vaccines help the body adapt. Even when the virus shifts its coat, the immune system can often still recognize the scent, the pattern, the motion. This is called cross-protection. It's not perfect, but it softens the illness, shortens the battle, reduces the harm. This dance continues across time. The virus changes. The vaccines adjust. Science listens. And life goes on, often without us noticing. And somewhere within you, right now, a sentinel stands, sleeping, but ready. Now we arrive at the softest place in our story. The early days, the first protection, the beginning of immunity. In most parts of the world, children receive vaccines not long after birth. Tiny doses, tiny needles, but enormous power. These vaccines do not overwhelm the immune system. In fact, the newborn immune system is eager to learn. Vaccination in infancy introduces the body to key pathogens. Hepatitis B, diphtheria, tetanus, pertussis, Haemophilus influenza type B, polio, rotavirus, measles, mumps, and rubella. Each one, a name with a long, painful past. Each one, now reduced to a few drops or a single injection. Some of these illnesses once ravaged towns. Measles could leave children deaf or blind. polio could paralyze in a single afternoon. Diphtheria once silenced voices with a membrane in the throat. But vaccines changed the path. Now, with routine childhood immunization, these diseases grow rarer. They lose their hold. They become memories, softened, distant, and almost forgotten. Some require combination vaccines, like the DTP, protecting against diphtheria, tetanus, and pertussis in one gentle shot. Others are oral, like the polio vaccine, drops given on the tongue, soft as dew. And many require booster doses to remind the immune system as the child grows. Each time a vaccine is given, the body learns. The immune cells train, and the protection deepens. The memory cells expand, and a shield, invisible but real, begins to grow. This shield not only protects the child, it protects the people around them, the family, the school, the village. This is the beginning of herd immunity, a quiet circle of safety. We will explore that next. But for now, let's pause in this tender place. The cradle, the clinic, the first steps of defense. And let us be grateful that a newborn, too small to speak, can be gently taught how to survive with just a whisper of science and a soft drop of hope. You've seen how vaccines are not just tools, but quiet tutors, educators of the flesh, whisperers to the cells. They do not shout. They do not push. They teach. And through that teaching, they save. Now let's enter the warm, expanding circle of herd immunity and how one person's vaccine protects many. Let's now imagine a quiet village, a circle of homes, children playing in the sun, elders sitting beneath shade trees, mothers carrying baskets of fruit, fathers returning with water, all breathing the same air. In this village lives one child who cannot be vaccinated. Perhaps they are too young, or their immune system is weak, like a flickering candle. They are vulnerable more than others. But around this child, others have been vaccinated. Their immune systems are alert, prepared, like a ring of gentle guardians. If a virus enters this community, it may try to find a host. But most doors are closed. The virus cannot pass easily from one person to the next. Its chain is broken, its path blocked. This is herd immunity, also called community immunity. It is the protection that happens not only inside one person, but between people. The virus depends on connection. It spreads through contact, breath, closeness. But when enough people are immune, the virus has nowhere left to go. The threshold needed for herd immunity varies by disease. Some viruses are slow and require only a few immune people. Others, like measles, spread like sparks in dry grass. They need about 95% of the population immune to prevent an outbreak. It is not a wall, but a blanket, soft, shared, and shaped by care. When you are vaccinated, you are not only protecting yourself, you are protecting others, especially those who cannot protect themselves. And in this way, vaccines become a kind of love, quiet, selfless, woven from biology and empathy, a shared silence in which no child cries for measles, no elder weakens from flu, no voice is lost to diphtheria, a community breathing as one, safe, together. Now, let us drift into a quieter place, not a clinic, but a laboratory, not filled with sound, but with concentration. Here, scientists work slowly, precisely, with clean hands, clear eyes, and careful hearts. The journey of a vaccine begins with identification. What is the pathogen? What are its parts? Which parts trigger the immune system to remember it? Researchers isolate antigens, the signature features of the virus or bacterium. These may be proteins, sugars, or genetic fragments. They study them under microscopes, through cell cultures, with reagents and stains. Once the antigen is chosen, the scientists must decide the vaccine platform. Should it be a live, attenuated virus, alive but weakened, or an inactivated virus, killed but whole? A protein subunit, just one key part? A vector-based vaccine, delivering genetic material inside a harmless virus? Or an mRNA vaccine, sending instructions directly to the body's own cells? Each path is different. Each has its strengths and limitations, and each requires deep knowledge of immunology, virology, genetics, and biochemistry. Once chosen, the vaccine is developed. The antigen must be made in large quantities, sometimes using yeast, bacteria, or mammalian cells to grow the necessary proteins. In some cases, the antigen is purified from these cells. In others, the cells are broken, filtered, and refined. Then comes formulation. The vaccine must be mixed with adjuvants, gentle ingredients that help the immune system notice the antigen more clearly. Aluminum salts are commonly used. They are safe and have been used for decades. Stabilizers are added to keep the vaccine effective during storage. Preservatives may be included for multi-dose vials. And finally, the vaccine is filled into vials or syringes, each one sealed, labeled, and stored under strict temperature control. But this is not the end. This is only the beginning of its testing. No vaccine reaches a clinic without first walking a long, careful road. This path is called clinical trials. It begins in animals, mice, ferrets, primates. They help scientists understand whether the vaccine is safe and whether it works. If it passes, the journey moves into human trials. Not quickly, not carelessly, but with gentle steps. Phase 1 includes a small group of healthy volunteers, often fewer than 100. This phase asks, is the vaccine safe? Are there any side effects? What dose works best? The body speaks softly in this phase, with numbers, with signals. Scientists listen closely. If the data are reassuring, the trial continues. Phase 2 involves a few hundred people, different ages, different health conditions. Here, researchers look for a strong immune response. How well are antibodies produced? Are memory cells forming? They fine-tune dosage, adjust timing, and observe every detail. Then comes Phase 3. This is the largest trial. Thousands, sometimes tens of thousands of volunteers. It tests whether the vaccine prevents disease in real-world conditions. Half the people receive the vaccine. Half receive a placebo. Neither the volunteers nor the scientists know who received which. This is called double-blind to avoid bias. Researchers wait. They monitor. They collect data on every illness, every fever, every smile. When enough data have gathered, they compare the two groups. Is the vaccinated group healthier? Are they getting sick less often? Are severe cases reduced? If yes, and if safety is confirmed, the data is sent to national regulators. Experts review everything, every graph, every reaction, every report. Only then, if it passes, is the vaccine approved. Even after that, it continues to be monitored in phase 4 to catch rare side effects, to watch for changes, to ensure the long arc of safety continues. This long journey may take years, sometimes a decade, but sometimes in great need, like during the COVID-19 pandemic, science moves swiftly, still carefully, but faster, using prior knowledge, global cooperation, shared data. Speed does not mean carelessness. It means readiness. And readiness is what vaccines teach. You've now wandered deeper into the shared safety of herd immunity, into the quiet rituals of laboratories, and through the winding, watchful journey of vaccine testing. These parts of the story are rarely loud. They don't make headlines, but they form the gentle current beneath the surface, a quiet tide of protection born from science and care. Next, we will visit the seasons of vaccination, why we need boosters, how immunity changes, and what it means to grow up with a shield around you. Immunity, like life, moves in seasons. It grows, it softens, sometimes it fades, and so we gently return to remind the body. These reminders are called boosters. A booster vaccine is not a failure of the first dose. It is a memory stirred gently awake, a flickering lantern made bright again, a quiet nudge to the cells that once stood guard. Some vaccines grant lifelong protection from a single dose, like the yellow fever vaccine. Others need revisiting. Tetanus, for example, every 10 years. Influenza, once a year because it shifts like clouds on the wind. Why do some protections wane? Because memory cells, though long-lived, are not eternal. Their numbers may dwindle. Their sharpness may soften, or the invader may change its coat like influenza does, a trickster virus that evolves each year. And so we adapt. New flu vaccines are prepared each season, based on what strains are circulating. Scientists watch global patterns. They predict, they prepare, and they deliver. Not perfectly, but thoughtfully. In times of new danger, such as COVID-19, boosters are used to broaden protection, to train the immune system to recognize newer variants, to reach those whose immunity was slow to rise. And there is something gentle in this repetition, like tending a garden each spring, or warming tea again in winter. The act of revisiting is the act of caring. Now, let us listen to one of the most profound stories in the history of vaccines. The story of polio. Poliomyelitis, or polio, was once a quiet terror. It arrived without warning. It lived in water. It traveled through hands, through food, through childhood. The virus was small, but its harm was lasting. It entered the mouth, then the intestines. Then, sometimes it found its way to the spinal cord. There it paralyzed muscles, legs, arms, breathing. Some children lost the ability to walk. Some never walked again. Hospitals filled with iron lungs, large machines that help people breathe. Rows of children lay inside them, motionless but awake. It was a haunting sight. A generation lived with the fear of summer because summer brought polio. But science was listening. In the 1950s, 2 vaccines would change everything. First came Jonas Salk. He created an inactivated polio vaccine, IPV. The virus was killed, but still recognized. It was injected. It worked. Later came Albert Sabin. He developed an oral polio vaccine, OPV, a live, weakened virus that could be taken by mouth. No needles, just a drop on the tongue. Easy, inexpensive, scalable. Both vaccines helped. Together, they formed a shield. Mass immunization campaigns began. In parks, in schools, in refugee camps, across cities, across continents. Polio cases began to fall, from hundreds of thousands to hundreds. Today, polio is nearly gone. Just a few regions remain where it clings to life. In places where conflict, fear, or displacement prevent vaccination. But we are close, so close, and one day soon, it may join smallpox in the quiet halls of eradication. Imagine a world where a virus disappears completely. No more cases, no more fear, just memory. Vaccines can do that. They can not only protect, but end a disease, a whisper that silences a scream. Vaccines do not shout, but sometimes the world does. In our time, misinformation travels faster than any virus. It lives in headlines, in hurried conversations, in fear. It says things that are not true, that vaccines cause harm, that they are rushed, that they change who we are. These myths are not new. Even Edward Jenner faced them. Some people believe his cowpox vaccine would turn humans into cows. Cartoons showed people with horns and tails. But those fears faded because truth, like water, flows patiently over stone. The science behind vaccines is not secret. It is reviewed, tested, monitored, and improved with care. Side effects, when they occur, are almost always mild. A sore arm, a slight fever, a day of rest. Serious reactions are rare, so rare that they are tracked with precision in post-approval monitoring systems. This is pharmacovigilance, a long, gentle watch kept by scientists across the globe, always listening, always refining. Yet fear can still grow, especially when people feel unheard, when they carry histories of mistrust, or when they're overwhelmed by noise. That is why we must speak softly, clearly, with kindness, not to argue, but to explain, to offer science not as a weapon, but as a gift. A vaccine is not just a product. It is a promise to protect not only the strong, but the weak, not only ourselves, but each other. In every dose, a whisper, you are safe, and so are those around you. The future of vaccines is not loud. It is slow, deliberate, woven from care, not haste. Scientists are asking, can vaccines be made even safer, more precise, longer lasting? And the answers are beginning to form. One path forward lies in mRNA technology. You may remember, mRNA vaccines were used for COVID-19. They do not carry the virus itself, only instructions like a recipe, a message that tells your cells to make just one harmless piece of the virus, then to study it, to prepare. This method is fast, scalable, clean. It opens doors not just for viruses, but for cancer, for HIV, even for malaria. In the gentle hum of modern labs, other innovations grow. Needle-free vaccines, delivered by gentle patches or sprays. Thermostable vaccines that don't require refrigeration. Personalized vaccines tailored to an individual's genetics. And pan-variant vaccines designed to protect against all strains of a virus. Scientists are also exploring nanoparticle vaccines, tiny structures that resemble viruses but contain no genetic material. They train the immune system like decoys in a peaceful game of mimicry. And perhaps one day, we will have universal vaccines. One flu shot to last a lifetime. One coronavirus vaccine to guard against all mutations. A single key for many locks. This future is not fantasy. It is unfolding patiently in quiet corners of the world, and always with one purpose: to protect, to prepare, to keep the body safe before danger knocks. So now, dear listener, we reach the end of our long, quiet journey through fields of discovery, through cells and memory, through stories carved in history and whispered in the body. We have seen how vaccines began, with a milkmaid's observation and a doctor's curiosity. We watched how they grew, from the shadows of smallpox to the hush of the laboratory, to the warmth of a community protected. We listened to the immune system, its memory cells, its B cells, its silent sentinels. We followed antigens and antibodies, messengers and molecules, dances and defenses, and we stayed with the science through fear and myth, through childhood and adulthood, through pandemics and promises. All along, we remembered one truth. Vaccines are not noise. They are not battles. They are reminders, whispers of a danger you may never meet, because your body is already prepared. Each vaccine is a story written in molecules, each drop a kindness, each dose a quiet gift from science to survival. And when enough people receive this gift, the world becomes stiller, quieter, safer. We no longer hear the coughs of measles in the night, or see the legs weakened by polio in the street. We no longer bury children from tetanus, or fear summer because of fever. Instead, we breathe, we grow, we live, because the danger was met and gently taught to leave. So let us end now, not with noise, but with stillness, with your breath slow and even, your mind calm and curious, your heart steady. Tonight, your body rests, but within it, small guardians remain awake. Memory cells, trained defenders, a shield soft as light, ready should it ever be needed. And that is the gift of vaccines. So sleep, dreamer. Sleep deeply. Sleep safely. The world watches. The science holds. And you are quietly, gently protected. Good night.